so far about this case. It all started last week on Tuesday when the Dyer County Sheriff's Office posted on Facebook asking for help identifying an abandoned baby. Deputies say around 3 o'clock that afternoon, they got a call that someone in a car dropped the child off outside in someone's front yard, and the child was in their car seat at the time. Now, this happened at a stranger's house on Old Highway 20. Then about an hour later, the department said that they did identify that baby. So once the baby was identified, they looked for the family members. So they named Courtney Rose, Matthew Wilson, and Adriana Williams as 3 people they wanted to question about the case. But of course, now we know that they were victims in this case. So later that evening, the Dyer County Sheriff's Office announced that the baby was part of that case in Lake County. That's where investigators found 4 people dead on Carrington Road in Tiptonville. And like Kevin said, that's right near the jail. It's pretty much down the street. And then Wednesday morning, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation identified the victims as James Wilson, Braden Williams, Courtney Rose, and Adriana Williams. Again, they were all related to that abandoned baby. Then Thursday, the TBI identified Austin Drummond as the suspect in this case. Last week, 4 people were arrested. That was over the weekend. They also took 2 cars into custody that Drummond was believed to be driving. It was an Audi and a truck. So this all brings us back to today, where Austin Drummond, again, is in custody. There was a lot of concern, especially from people in Jackson on social media, for their safety, but he has been taken into custody. Kevin, Yvonne?
Leah, thank you so much. I think something that we cannot talk about enough would be the victims of this case, because that is why we are here. So let's take a moment to remember who these people were. 21-year-old James Wilson, 20-year-old Adriana Williams, 39-year-old Courtney Rose, 15-year-old Braden Williams. We know that Wilson and Adriana Williams were the baby's parents, and Rose was Adriana and Brandon Williams' mother. All 4 victims lived in Dyer County.
This is the photos of the baby that was left unharmed, thankfully, on a lawn there. I mean, it's just devastating to think about. This one family, you know,
Yes.
those of us, the rest of the community, you know, we'll be talking and asking these questions for a while, but then, you know, our lives move forward, and this family, devastated.
Devastated.
I mean, you can't even imagine sort of the pain, the heartbreak. Where do they pick up the pieces, especially if it you know, what was the connection between Drummond and this family?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of speculation about that. It's unknown at this time, exactly confirmed, whether from law enforcement or others, what was the degree that they knew Drummond, how much she was ingratiated into that family or not. It's all just heartbreaking to think about, especially, again, given that he was in prison as recently as last year.
And another thing to really talk about, and we can share only as much as we know. Police have not given too many updates about the baby at this time.
That's true, yeah.
But we do know that the baby is a girl, and she was found safe, and that she is being taken care of at this time by family, law enforcement, people that are connected to this case. But that is all of the information that we have at this time about the baby, other than she is safe.
Yeah, we haven't learned too much about that information, or too much about the case so far. They've been very hesitant to release information because it has been such an active scene. Obviously, up until just very moments ago, they were looking for Drummond and not trying to get any information out there that may aid him in his escape efforts. Hopefully, over the next hours, days, weeks, they'll be able to be a little more forthcoming with what they know and what they've been able to piece together so far at this time. I understand last week, again, in Lake County, officials with TBI found 4 bodies along Carrington Road in Tiptonville. We're saying these names again: 21-year-old James Wilson, 20-year-old Adriana Williams, 38-year-old Courtney Rose, 15-year-old Braden Williams, and that all one family. Courtney Rose, actually the grandma there of the baby that was found. Braden Williams, I believe, her nephew, and then Wilson and Williams were speculated to be in a relationship there. It's just heartbreaking to think about like this.
Yeah, it is. And just know, especially you could see on the graphic that was on your screen, this was a very complicated, wide investigation that involved multiple agencies in Lake County, Dyer County, the TBI, and the FBI, all were helping to figure this out, to solve this, and even Jackson police as well.
Yeah.
So you have 5 or 6 different agencies that were working to figure out where Drummond was, to identify him first, then to figure out where he was and to bring him into custody, which they did today.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the questions that I haven't seen to be answered specifically, is how they were able to zero in on Drummond as a suspect, relatively quickly. That news came out within a day that they knew Drummond was the man that they were certainly looking for. Again, alleged here still at this time, but that question I would be curious to find out about. What makes them so certain that Drummond is the person that they want to look for,
Agreed.
There's a lot of questions that still have to be answered. And we do have a reporter there on the scene, which we'll be getting to him momentarily. He'll be able to give us that live picture of the scene. Again, just on Wednesday, the last time Drummond was seen in Jackson, that just last week up until these few days ago, he was believed to have been driving a damaged white 2016 Audi at the time. This is a look at a map there of the wide area of that manhunt. You can get a sense of kind of the resources that have been deployed here to try and locate Drummond. Again, as you mentioned, Yvonne, multi-state effort, TBI, you've got national federal police involved. You don't see that too often. That should certainly give you some sense of the scope of not just the investigation, but the crime that we're dealing with here. Again, very significant situation. They were able to confirm, again, the connection between the baby that was found and the bodies being found, the cars that were discovered, multiple crime scenes, a very complicated investigation. And hopefully today we can sort of start to get some answers. I guess.
Some answers and some clarity, right? To see exactly what happened, because we're giving you a lot of information in real time as we're receiving information. It can be a little confusing, a little convoluted, and it's hard to keep up with all of the tracks. And so that is part of our jobs as journalists, to make sure that you understand and you know exactly what's going on with all of the information and with all of the facts that we've been given as well. Our Leah Williams has been standing by in studio to really take you back to how this case started with everything that we know so far. Leah.
Yeah, Yvonne, this is such an odd case and such a sad case that we want to continue to take you through how all of this started. Even though we don't have all the answers yet, here's what we do know so far. The Dyer County Sheriff's Office posted on Facebook last Tuesday asking for help identifying an abandoned baby. Deputies say the baby was dropped off, that baby on your screen right now, around 3 o'clock that afternoon. Someone actually called saying they saw someone drop the baby off in their car seat in someone's front yard and then take off. This happened at a stranger's house on Old Highway 20. About an hour later, the department updated the post saying they did identify that baby. So then they wanted to look for the baby's family. So they named Courtney Rose, Matthew Williams, and Adriana Williams as 3 people they wanted to question about the case. Later that evening, the Dyer County Sheriff's Office announced that the abandoned baby was a part of a case in Lake County. That's where investigators found 4 people dead on Carrington Road in Tiptonville. And we now know that 3 of the people that police were looking for were actually victims in the case. Wednesday morning, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation identified the victims as James Wilson, Braden Williams, Courtney Rose, and Adriana Williams. The TBI confirmed that they are related to that abandoned baby. And then on Thursday, the TBI identified Austin Drummond as the suspect in this case. Last week, 4 other people were arrested. Then over the weekend, they actually took 2 cars into custody that he was believed to be driving. One was a truck, another was a white Audi. So this brings us all to today, where he has been arrested and is in police custody. So still a lot of questions surrounding this case, but what we can tell you is that he is in custody right now. Kevin, Yvonne.
All right, thank you for that, Leah. We're going to just take this all back to the beginning here. If you're just joining in on this stream, we're cutting in with some breaking news, some serious breaking news. Austin Drummond, the accused killer of 4 people, has been taken into custody in Jackson, Tennessee.
Authorities in Jackson, Tennessee, announcing this morning that they have captured Drummond nearly an hour ago, just ending a nearly 6-day long manhunt after a family of 4 was killed and a baby was left in someone's yard. We do again have a crew en route to the scene to give you a live look, but here is a photo, the most recent photo of Drummond.
Yeah, that certainly can give you a sense of the condition that he has been in. You know, the Jackson area, the West Tennessee, it's a pretty rural area. You know, that's no doubt why he was able to evade capture this long, presumably in those woods for long periods. That photo right there, looks like someone who, has been on the run, to put it that way. It's good for those of us in the West Tennessee area, and especially those in the Jackson community who have been worried about this accused quadruple homicide killer walking the streets. I know we saw surveillance footage just from a day or so ago showing him walking around. I know we'll have that coming up here shortly to show you that he's been walking around with a gun still, camouflage, very much ready for a confrontation there in the Jackson area, even though there was some speculation he had left, but I guess not the case.
Apparently not. We're going to wait to see what investigators tell us, if he did leave the area and came back, or if he's been there the entire time. Let's go ahead and take a look at that surveillance video. The photo we just showed you was the next look that we have, but this video was sent to all news outlets, and it's video that was time-stamped for Sunday, which was August 3rd at 11 p.m. So officials with the Jackson Police Department said that Drummond was seen on a citizen's camera system in the 700 block of Pipkin Road, which was Sunday night, August 3rd. This video footage that you can see right there on your screen shows Drummond with a black rifle, wearing camouflage pants and a long sleeve camouflage shirt with a brown backpack on his back.
Scary to think about someone, accused of these types of crimes, just walking around, being able to move freely there under cover of night, just walking around. You only see what you see. He may well have been able to find shelter there in the Jackson area, in unsuspecting areas, nearby folks just trying to go about their day, especially given, this was the first week of school here starting. There's a lot of concern from parents and families in the Jackson area that a lot of those should be shut down and closed until Drummond was located. You can understand the fear and the concern that a lot of those families have. I know a lot of them are resting a little bit easy now, or easier, I should say, that we're going to start finally getting some clarity, as we've been talking about, on what exactly occurred. Anytime you have a quadruple murder in this manner, it raises some questions about what led up to this incident. You've got a baby involved, which is going to certainly add to any kind of intrigue or drama. It's kind of thing that you hear about in movies. This has been a national story.
Yes, it has been.
It's been strange to think about, and we're glad that at least this phase of it has come to an end with Drummond captured alive. There was worry that there was going to be some kind of confrontation. He certainly appeared ready for one, and he has been captured alive. He's taken into custody, and they'll be able to hopefully start getting some answers.
Yes, but also he is now in custody, and 4 others are also in custody now as well. 4 people are accused of helping Drummond avoid capture, and those people are Tanaka Brown, Giovante Thomas, Brandon Powell, and De'Ara Sanders.
Yeah, that's right. We're looking at those photos right now on your screen. Those 4 people accused of helping Drummond after the fact of these accused murders. They're not being arrested for any kind of assistance in the act itself. Of course, those legal proceedings will play out over the course of time, just as well as Drummond's will. A couple of those folks are Desmond Nugent was at their arraignments in court yesterday. 2 more of them will be in court there on Thursday. Yeah, we've got some footage there in the scene. I believe that looks like De'Ara Sanders there in court yesterday. She's orange jumpsuit there. She is, again, facing potentially up to 6 years in jail if convicted of this crime, assisting Drummond after the fact. We don't know, it hasn't been said to this point what exactly any of these 4 people were alleged to have done to help Drummond in his escape. Did they give him, allow them to stay with him? Did they give him a car ride somewhere? Any kind of things like that would certainly fall under the purview, but we don't know yet at this time. They haven't really been saying. Those are the kinds of facts that we'll get a little more information on.
Absolutely.
Right now. Okay, and I'm being told we've got our reporter Desmond Nugent there now live on the scene in Jackson County. He's got a live interview set up there. We are going to him here momentarily. Wonder what kind of scene we're going to be seeing there.
Right. We do know that police have been in the area for quite some time, and so we're expecting to see more police presence there. But we'll also be hearing from Desmond in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I can hear Desmond in my ear right now. He's setting that up. We're going to go to him here shortly. There's a lot of moving pieces here for us, but he is there now live on the scene in Jackson, where Austin Drummond has been captured. after a 6-day-long manhunt or so. Finally, he has been captured and is in custody. Desmond, do we have you?
That's right, Kevin. We are here in the Saddlebrook Drive and Country Club Lane area in Jackson, Tennessee, where authorities did capture and seize Austin Drummond, as we've been reporting not too long ago. It's been a very tumultuous and very crazy atmosphere for residents here. We actually have a Mr. Tom Lovell, who is one of the people who is one of the residents here in Jackson. Just describe to us just what exactly you had saw this morning.
Well, when I came back from church, all of a sudden, a bunch of police cars came into our street and FBI and unmarked cars, and they got out and started looking around our house with guns pointed. And that's very unsettling. But on the other hand, it made us very comfortable because we knew that we were being protected really at that point. And so the neighborhood is pretty tight and everybody was texting back and forth. But this saga had to stop because we can't live this way.
So, Mr. Tom, when did you see all that action occur? Was it this morning, or was it on Sunday?
No, it was this morning and really all day yesterday. They were in the neighborhood throughout the day yesterday.
What's the atmosphere? I know you just described a few seconds ago, but what's the atmosphere been like for you and your neighbors here just over the last 3 or 4 days, knowing that he was in this area this entire time?
It's very unsettling. It makes it difficult to sleep. So we have to protect ourselves in the way that the Second Amendment allows. And so, and I was, but I'm just so glad it's over with because once again, I moved over here for peace and serenity. And we hadn't had that for the last 3 or 4 days, but thank goodness they got it.
And I'm not sure if you saw that video that kind of has been circulating on social media, but he was just near the university, just down the street, knowing that knowing that he was just that close, ma'am.
Yeah, we walk all the time in this area, and my next door neighbor and I were walking Sunday, and she said, "I just think he's in these woods," and I said, "Oh, you do?" So, but we felt unsettled, and we are so glad we can go for a walk now.
Another time they got camera evidence of him over here at Cornerstone Church, and my neighbor standing there can probably throw a rock and hit that Cornerstone Church. And so that's very unsettling to know that he's walking around in the dark throughout our neighborhood.
And the one thing that I wanted to ask is, knowing that, he finally got captured, that this city and this neighborhood can finally, as you just said, kind of be from unsettled to settled. How does that give you more of a peace of mind right now?
It's pretty good. My neighbor and I were talking, we need a little bit of a transition because we've been so geared up in a situation we're not used to. And
well, for me, it's just we can breathe again. We can go back to living again without having to worry about this problem. Thankful. I want to thank all the members of the police authority and the FBI and everybody that was chasing this guy down, and good for them.
And it makes you want to go do stuff for them and continue to let them know how much they're appreciated.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And like I said, we're here in the Saddlebrook Drive and Country Club Lane area of Jackson, Tennessee. People living here, residents, feeling finally at peace, knowing that Austin Drummond is captured by authorities. We'll have more for you later at midday. Live in Jackson, Tennessee, I'm Desmond Nugent, ABC 24 News.
Desmond, thank you so much. We really appreciate that update. It was good insight to hear from them, but a scary morning for them. Can you imagine just seeing rifles and men in your front yard?
That is crazy to think about. This whole incident has just been complete chaos for that Jackson community. The fear, the terror, you don't know, especially some of that surveillance video that we've been talking about. Seeing Drummond, he's actually, he could be nearby, he's in there, he's walking by a church. I mean, you can imagine certainly the feeling of relief that they now are feeling, and we're happy for that family. Thank you for that interview, Desmond.
A few things that they mentioned there too, just feeling unsettled, that they had a hard time sleeping, that they're glad it's over with, that they're just glad it's done. They can breathe again.
Yeah, that's certainly a feeling that is understandable when you're dealing with this national news story, a quadruple accused killer just walking around, steps from where your home is. It's kind of terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly wouldn't be able to sleep. So
Same.
I feel happy for that family that they'll be able to move into a little bit of a better space, but other families, not so much. Huh?
Yeah, not so much. What we haven't really touched on yet, Kevin, is what happens next. With our just experience in journalism, knowing a little bit about how the court system works and what happens. Austin Drummond will be booked and will be charged with whatever police believe he should be charged with. We then will see that he will have a first appearance where he will have his rights read to him under the court of the law, and his true blue bill of indictment will be given to him to see exactly what the list of charges were and what they will be, how many counts. And he will then have an opportunity to be arraigned, where he will have a chance to either enter a guilty or a not guilty plea in this case.
Yeah, and that will, I can promise, will be just the beginning of a very long legal process. We've talked about here in the Memphis area all the time, some of these high-profile cases. You've got these high-profile defendants that are going to use every legal avenue that's available to them in most cases to try and stretch the process out. Because when you're talking about a crime of this magnitude, he's going to be looking at a very severe penalty from the state, and there's going to be a lot of efforts on the behalf of him and his legal team to try and extend the process as much as possible, make it muddy the waters, if you will, to try and extend his own time that he's going to have, potentially not having to come to a decision being made on the sentencing one way or the other. This is in the end, today marks the end of one chapter of this, but
the start of another.
The beginning of one that's unfortunately going to be far longer. But at least for some of the family members and the community there, they get a little bit of closure knowing that he's no longer going to be on the loose and walking the streets.
And know that we'll be following this case throughout multiple cities and multiple counties. It is possible that he's charged with different crimes in different counties, talking about Dyer, talking about Lake, but also the city of Jackson. It is possible that there will be charges ranging in different areas for different things.
Yeah, it's a very complicated case just from the logistical perspective. You've got multiple crime scenes, multiple vehicles involved, multiple after the fact accomplices. What's now going to happen with those cases here now that Drummond has also been brought into custody? Those proceedings will also be going along at the same time. They're going to be making all as many efforts as possible to, either give it what information they have or not, if they so choose, on Drummond and both his whereabouts through this nearly week-long process. But the bigger questions that investigators will be trying to get to, which is, why did this occur? I mean, especially if it does, in fact, Drummond had a previous relationship with that family and knew them, what exactly led up to such a gruesome alleged killing?
Yeah. An awful scene in Dyer and in Lake County. All right, to help us process all of this, Desmond Nugent is live in the field, but Leah Williams is live in studio to really walk us through exactly what happened in the days leading up to this arrest. Leah.
Yvonne, there are still so many questions in this case, and hopefully we can get some more answers later, but it could be a while since this is such a large investigation spanning multiple counties. We do want a recap of timeline of where all of the events began in Dyer County. That was on Tuesday, and the sheriff's office received a call shortly after 3 p.m., and they were told that a car dropped off a baby in a car seat at a front yard on Old Highway 20. So I want you to look here. This is Dyer County right here. And this is the area where the infant was dropped off. So then investigators started looking for that baby's family and soon learned that 4 relatives hadn't been seen since the night before. That's according to the district attorney, Danny Goodman. So later in the evening in Lake County, officials with the TBI said 4 bodies were found along Carrington Road. That's up here in Lake County. So this is Dyer County where the baby was, and then Lake County is where the 4 bodies were found. The victims were identified as 21-year-old James Wilson, 20-year-old Adriana Williams, 38-year-old Courtney Rose, and 15-year-old Braden Williams. Following the discovery of those victims, the Lake County, which is again up here, and then the Dyer County Sheriff's offices requested assistance from both the FBI and the TBI. You don't normally see the FBI take over these cases, so that's a very big deal that they asked for that assistance. So then on Wednesday, which was July 30th, Drummond was seen in Jackson, Tennessee. Investigators say he was believed to have been driving a damaged white 2016 Audi. That car has been recovered. It was found unoccupied over the weekend. On Thursday, the TBI confirmed the connection between the baby's abandonment and the victims as they say the search for Austin Drummond continued. James Wilson and Adriana Williams were confirmed to be the baby's parents. Now, the baby is okay right now, and Rose and Adriana Wilson was Braden Williams' mother, according to Goodman. Now, he also says all 4 victims lived in the Dyer County area. On Friday, several local and federal authorities held a press conference in Jackson, Tennessee, emphasizing that Drummond was still out on the loose, and he had been seen in that area again on Wednesday. So later in the afternoon, the white Audi was found again unoccupied, and that was on Mick-O Road in Jackson, right next to a neighborhood. So continuing this weekend, Saturday, the TBI confirmed that they found a white 1988 Ford pickup truck, and this was here kind of right between Lake and Dyer counties. So it had a red stripe near Burnt Mill Road, and that was in Dyersburg. So multiple counties involved in this investigation. I want to turn things back over to you, though, Kevin and Yvonne.
All right. Thank you for that, Leah. We're still getting as much information as we can at this hour. We've got our reporter, Desmond Nugent, there on the scene. I'm sure we'll be going back to him here shortly, but we're still just taking stock of this whole situation, closing one chapter just in this last week, but beginning another.
Yes, absolutely. And we are still waiting on information. We believe that the TBI will host a press conference sometime today, whether it's this morning or this afternoon, or maybe even this evening, after they have gathered all the information that they can share with us at this time. Because again, Drummond has been arrested, but the case is still ongoing. The investigation is still ongoing. And now there's another scene to process, the scene in which he was captured. So still a lot of moving pieces here.
That's actually a great point, Yvonne, because now they're going to be able to retrace his movements a little bit better throughout this past week. There's probably going to end up being multiple areas that's both either in the public or in private areas where Drummond will be found to have been staying just over the course of the last week. You know, how was he getting food, right? Or maybe he wasn't, I suppose. What exactly has been taking place over the course of this last week is a new question that investigators will certainly be needing to answer, and those questions will be asked. To your point, yeah, we do anticipate there being some kind of press conference with a little more information as far as what they know, how they were able to zero in on Drummond as a suspect, any information besides what was publicly released that led to his capture. Our reporter Desmond Nugent was there in court yesterday there for some of the accomplices, and they're saying we're going back live to him now. He's there nearby in Jackson where Drummond was captured. Okay, we've got his story from yesterday, on what exactly is going on in those court cases with the accomplices.
Lake County District Attorney Danny Goodman tells me Darius Sanders and Brandon Powell are the 2 new suspects named with helping Austin Drummond. He tells me this just goes to show that Drummond is well connected.
During the course of the investigation, it was determined that Mr. Tanaka Brown
4 to 21 years. That's how much prison time Tanaka Brown is facing if convicted. He's the man charged with tampering with evidence and accessory after the fact for his involvement with Austin Drummond. Drummond is facing 4 counts of first-degree murder and a kidnapping charge for last week's deadly murders of 4 people found along Carrington Road in Tiptonville, including abandoning a baby.
And I just think that it shows he has a lot of connections, lots of friends who are willing to do what they have to help him.
Brown wasn't the only suspect and Jackson, Tennessee native in court on Monday. Darius Sanders is also being charged with accessory after the fact. She could be serving 1 to 6 years in prison. Goodman says authorities named her as a suspect early Monday morning.
I think was placed in custody probably somewhere around 5 a.m. And the only information I can give at this time is that she's gave some assistance afterwards.
Brandon Powell is the other new suspect Goodman mentioned after Monday's hearing for Sanders and Brown. Powell is being charged with possession of Schedule 6 drugs and criminal conspiracy. Both Sanders and Brown have a $250,000 bond.
It's for the safety of the community.
Giovante Thomas is looking at similar charges as Brown and Sanders, accessory after the fact. He will be transferred from the Madison County Jail on an unrelated charge to the Lake County Jail, where he will be in court August 7th. Powell will also be in court on August 7th. Brown is expected to return here at Lake County District Court for a source hearing on August 14th. In Tiptonville, I'm Desmond Nugent, ABC 24 News.
All great info there from Desmond. One thing that we still are learning or trying to find out is what exactly the assistance provided was to Drummond by those 4 individuals. Does that include them staying with him? Does that include driving him around, getting him food? We don't know at this point. They've been pretty tight-lipped about giving out any information, as it was still an active investigation looking for him. It'll be interesting to see if they give a little more clarity as to what exactly that assistance was.
Right, because we know they're connected, like you mentioned. We just don't know how, in what way or in what manner they're connected.
Right, and there's cars involved. There's just a lot of unanswered questions still at this time as we kind of start this new chapter, this new legal chapter of this unfortunate, horrible tragedy that has left 4 people dead there in Tiptonville. That's, again, the important thing is those victims. And it's sad to think about something like this just tearing that family apart for forever.
Yeah, it really is. Those 4 people that we just mentioned that are being charged as accessories to this crime are just 4 of the 5 people now in custody. That 5th one is Drummond, and he is facing several charges as well. Let's run through them right now and take a look at his photo, his most recent photo that's been released by the TBI. Drummond is facing several charges, including 4 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of aggravated kidnapping, 4 counts of being a felon in possession of a firearm, and 1 count of being in possession of a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony.
That photo right there kind of sums up that scene. And there was a lot of people thinking that perhaps Drummond had left West Tennessee. That was what law enforcement had said earlier in the week, that they had reason to believe that he had fled the state. Don't know if they got new information that changed that, or that's one of the things they were just saying to make Drummond kind of lower his guard. That's something that investigators will do. But Drummond obviously had not left the state, or at least he was back there early in this week. He was walking around there in Jackson under cover of night, going from building to building. He was captured on surveillance video just a little over a day ago, seen outside a couple of churches there in Jackson. I know we have some of that surveillance footage. Yeah, we're seeing it now. Him just walking around, don't know where he's coming from, don't know where he's going to, but he was looking to get in that church there again earlier this week. He was walking around with camouflage on, a large weapon on his side, very much looking like someone ready for either a confrontation, ready for a long stay out in the woods, someone who, was armed and dangerous. That's why they were, individuals were told to stay away if they saw or encountered Drummond at all, and simply contact the authorities. That's one of the other questions that we've been talking about. What exactly led them to finding Drummond here after 6 days?
Right. We don't know at this point if a tip led to his arrest. We don't know if police were called to a scene because someone said they saw someone suspicious lurking around. We're not sure exactly what led up to the capture, other than we know it happened a little more than an hour ago. The surveillance video that you're looking at right now is from Cornerstone Community Church, and this surveillance video was taken on August 3rd around 11 p.m. That was last Sunday at around 11 p.m. This church is located near the 700 block of Pipkin Road in Jackson.
Yeah, again, just scary to think about, especially a lot of those families. Our Desmond Nugent interviewed one just a few moments ago here who had been living in that area, had seen that whole situation burst out here this morning. They've got a little more safety, a little more clarity. We're happy for them. And we're going to go back to Desmond now. I understand he's live there in Jackson again. Desmond, what have you found out?
Kevin and Yvonne just got done speaking to a couple just a few minutes ago who actually knew or have actually seen Austin Drummond as a child, but then also there was a neighbor who they said that Austin Drummond had a weapon and had, I guess, an attempted carjacking, and that's kind of how the sighting kind of got started, and that's probably how authorities were able to find him in this particular area, which we are in the Saddlebrook Drive and Country Lane area. And so they were just telling me that they feel more at peace now. They feel not as unsettled as they were the last couple of days. And they talked about how it's just been very trying to not be able to go anywhere, not to be able to feel safe or getting out of their home. They also told me that just in this wooded area, not too far as where Austin Drummond was actually captured by authorities. And so now that this neighborhood feels a little bit more at peace, he says, Mr. Tom Lovell tells me that he'll be able to sleep better at night. And this is actually Mr. Tom Lovell, ladies and gentlemen. He's one of the people that actually knew or kind of saw Austin Drummond as he was a child. But again, this family, this community, this city in Jackson, Tennessee, can now, as he was telling me just a few minutes ago, can sleep a lot easier knowing that he is now in custody and that he is finally captured after kind of being on the road or just throughout the streets without being captured by police. So again, we will have more information about the situation as it constantly unfolds. So we'll have more information to you at midday. Live in Jackson, Tennessee, I'm Desmond Nugent, ABC 24 News.
Desmond, thank you so much. We appreciate your work out there on the streets talking to people, because people have been so fearful of what's been happening around them in their surrounding communities and neighborhoods. So it's good to hear from that couple that you spoke with that they feel better at least.
Yeah, Desmond, I want to ask a question if we can. I don't know if we have the capabilities. I mean, have you seen any kind of scene there, law enforcement personnel, any kind of active investigation that's going on, the classical yellow tape, all that stuff?
Kevin, no, actually, as being a photographer, Sheila Whaley, we haven't been able to see anything. We haven't been able to even spot one singular police vehicle whatsoever. We have been trying to drive around the neighborhood, but we want to make sure to get this information on our streaming app, ABC 24 Plus, as quickly as possible. So no, yet, Kevin, we have not been able to see or spot any police at this particular time.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you for that, Desmond. Just wanted to, see if we can figure out exactly what's been going on out there. That's interesting to see that they've already seemed to have cleared it away. It tells you maybe that this was something that was planned for a while and executed quickly to get in and out.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it, which was good for the safety of everyone involved, especially the neighbors that were nearby when this was happening. Because we know that they were nervous. They were all told to lock their doors and their garages and their sheds for several days, just not knowing where Drummond was.
Scary to think about, especially during this first week, school being back. You've got kids walking around, small children, maybe would just encounter him just by virtue of, just random chance. And this is someone that, allegedly has killed 4 people. You would presume wouldn't be afraid to do what it takes to stay free. But that is a scary thing to think about. Fortunately, Drummond now in custody, and we will begin the legal proceedings of this case. Hopefully get to some answers as to what occurred and that incident just a little over a week ago, or about a week ago or so. We're turning now to our Leah Williams live in studio with a breakdown of how we got here. Leah.
Kevin, Yvonne, we actually have a map just showing where everything happened. So we're going to kind of go through these maps. We want to recap a timeline of everything that went on. So it all began in Dyer County a week ago, last Tuesday, July 29th. A sheriff's deputies received a call shortly after 3 p.m. and they were told that someone saw a baby being dropped off in someone's front yard. Now, the baby was in their car seat and they are okay right now. That was on Old Highway 20. Now, immediately after finding the infant, which this was here in Dyer County, just for the map so you could kind of get an idea of where it is. This is Memphis down here, Dyer up here. So the baby's family, they were looking for them and they realized that 4 of the relatives of that baby haven't been seen since the night before. That would have been last Monday night. And that's all according to the District Attorney General, Danny Goodman. Later Tuesday evening in Lake County, officials with the TBI said 4 bodies were found. So here's where the infant was in Dyer County, and here's where the bodies were found in Lake County. And we do know that Austin Drummond was in jail in Lake County, and the bodies were actually found on a street near that jail. So we don't know if there's a connection there, but we do know they were found on Carrington Road in Tiptonville. The victims identified as 21-year-old James Wilson, 20-year-old Adriana Williams, 38-year-old Courtney Rose, and 15-year-old Braden Williams. Right after discovering the victims, both the Lake and Dyer County Sheriff's offices requested assistance from not only the TBI, but also the FBI on working on this case. So very complex case here. On Wednesday, last week, July 30th, Drummond was seen in Jackson, Tennessee. So investigators say that that's where he was, and he was believed to be driving a damaged 2016 Audi. That Audi was found days later. So on Thursday, the TBI confirmed the connection between the baby's abandonment and the victims as they searched for Austin Drummond. That's really when that search got started. James Wilson and Adriana Williams were confirmed to be the baby's parents. Rose was Adriana and Braden Williams' mother, according to Goodman. He says all 4 of the victims lived in Dyer County, so we don't really know their connection to Lake County or why they were found there. We're still working to get those answers, but on Friday, several local and federal authorities held a press conference in Jackson, just trying to say that Drummond was still on the loose and looking for him and giving us information on the evidence that they had so far. Later that afternoon, that's when the white Audi was found. It was unoccupied on Mick-O Road in Jackson, Tennessee, right next to a neighborhood. We don't know the connection to why the car was dropped there. So a lot of questions in this case. But Saturday, the TBI confirmed that a 1988 white Ford pickup truck was found with a red stripe near Burnt Mill Road in Dyersburg. He was believed to be driving that vehicle as well. Last night, new surveillance video from Cornerstone Community Church right here showed 28-year-old Austin Drummond walking on Pipkin Road. Now, he was seen wearing camouflage and had a gun in his hand, so very dangerous, very scary situation, a huge black rifle, and he kind of was just walking around that church area. So officers urged homeowners to stay alert, and they urged them to lock up their homes, garages, sheds, and check for more security footage like this. But today, Drummond is finally in custody. This is after a multi-county manhunt in multiple communities across. People were on edge. This is the picture right here, actually, from when he was captured earlier today. Again, Austin Drummond is in custody. That's why we're bringing this news to you right now. Kevin, Yvonne.
All right, thank you for that, Leah. A lot to consider with this case. Multiple crime scenes, multiple cars, a lot unknown.
Multiple victims.
Multiple victims, that's right. There's a baby. Fortunately, the baby was okay, but now the capture of Drummond is going to raise a lot more questions and create a lot more scenes of investigation now as they try and pin down his exact whereabouts over the past week. That one of many questions we're still trying to figure out here, and be able to get more information now that Drummond is in custody. He has been taken alive, and we will be able to hopefully start getting some answers about what exactly led to this horrifying tragedy. What exactly were those? What was the connection between Drummond and some of those family members? Why this situation would have ended up devolving clearly as it did? And what exactly happens next? There's a lot of charges now to work through. He's got a laundry list of them. Those could be still upgraded now at any time as they continue to collect more information and gather more data as to, again, his whereabouts, any other assistance he may have had. When you have a quadruple murder investigation, they're obviously going to leave no stone unturned and try to get to the bottom of exactly what's gone wrong here.
Yeah, it's a very big case. And Kevin, you mentioned Drummond having multiple charges. I believe we have a picture with those charges. I do want to walk you through exactly what we're looking at, as Kevin mentioned, for now, because there could be additional charges that are added to this. Now he is back in custody. We do know that Drummond is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of aggravated kidnapping, 4 counts of being a felon in possession of a firearm, and 1 count of possession of a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony.
Yeah, that is, again, a significant rap sheet there for Drummond. And remember, Drummond himself just getting out of a decade-long prison sentence there at the Tiptonville Correctional Facility there in Northwest Tennessee. These 4 bodies, in fact, were found very nearby the prison that Drummond had previously been incarcerated in less than a year ago. Certainly raising a lot more questions about what exactly his connection is to that family, that area, that region, how all 4 of those members of that family were brought onto that sort of rural street together, what led them to kind of all be located in that same spot near the prison, again, where Drummond already has familiarity with, even though he is from Jackson. And then he was able to get from there to Jackson with multiple cars being involved. They've recovered several of them. One of them, I believe it was announced that was found covered in bullet holes. They are, still trying to piece together exactly what that sequence of events, both pre-incident and post incident that has now led about a week later, Drummond getting captured there in the woods, it would seem, near Jackson, Tennessee, ending that about 6-day long manhunt. Don't know exactly what he's been doing over the past week, other than, walking around and some of that surveillance footage that was caught. But now that he is in custody, taken alive, some people fear that he was going to initiate some kind of confrontation with police. He was walking around with weapons, but that not the case. He was able to be taken alive. They will be able to get some more information out of him. What exactly led to this quadruple homicide there in Northwest Tennessee?
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Kevin, we don't know what Drummond has been doing the last 6 days.
No, yeah.
But we do know that a family is grieving. I don't think we can talk about the victims' families enough in this case, because it's at the heart of exactly what we're talking about. We are here because 4 people lost their lives and a baby was abandoned in someone's yard. We know their names and we do have their pictures as well. James Wilson was just 21 years old. Adriana Williams was just 20 years old. Courtney Rose was 38 years old. And the youngest victim of the crew was Braden Williams at 15 years old. And they're all family members. They're all connected.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a family that will never be the same. It will take, years as this legal process plays out, but that is going to be, no matter what happens, it's going to be not much of a solace to the rest of this family here, this Tennessee family that has been just split open with this horrific tragedy. Now, that baby was fortunately found okay, unharmed, but now growing up without parents.
Right, because we do know that Wilson, James Wilson, and Adriana Williams, 2 victims, those were that child's mother and father.
That is just heartbreaking to think about. And we still don't know at this time whether the baby was gotten rid of prior to, is this something that allegedly Drummond was the one who dropped the baby off? We don't know that sequence of events. At least that hasn't been publicly announced. Perhaps investigators do know and will be able to inform us a little bit better as they continue to piece this together. But just so many unanswered questions still. Anytime you have a case of this magnitude where the crimes are so horrific, the alleged crimes, it's kind of boggles the mind. And we're glad, at least for now, that there's been some closure for those families and they can start moving forward in this process.
As Kevin is mentioning, the timeline, we have a solid timeline of what police have told us, but there are still holes in the timeline of information that they haven't given us and information that they're still learning. As it comes to the 4 victims and the baby, we only know that the baby was found first. And then the 4 victims were found shortly after that. That is all we know at this time.
Found, but we don't know what
exactly
was.
Yes.
What was the chain of events there that connects those 2 crime scenes, and what exactly led them to zero in on Drummond so immediately. He was someone that, his picture and name were out there with less than a day. When you have a rural quadruple murder like that, it's certainly, there is some information that investigators have, and they have yet to reveal to the public as to exactly why they were able to hone in on him. And we do have that, again, that capture photo of Austin Drummond found today, just shortly, maybe 90 minutes ago, in a rural area. See there, sort of in a wooded area near Jackson, Tennessee, maybe in Jackson, after 6 days or so of Drummond on the run in this accused quadruple homicide up in Tiptonville. There's multiple scenes here that need to be kind of figured out exactly what happened where, who, was able to, went to multiple locations. Again, as we've also talked about, there are accomplices after the fact that have now been arrested and charged with aiding Drummond in some capacity. We don't know exactly in what capacity, but after this alleged crime was committed. So again, just a lot of things to piece together here, but Austin Drummond has been captured, ending this manhunt that's gone on and really been a national story. I mean, it certainly, we talk about the FBI has been here. It's been a multi-agency effort to locate Drummond and bring him to capture. And at least now we can move on to the next steps of this process.
Yeah, and let's talk about that as we continue to look at this photo. This is the most recent photo that we have of Drummond since his capture and arrest. we do have an idea of how the court system works, how the arrest system works when this happens. We believe that Drummond will be taken into custody. He'll be arrested, he'll be handcuffed and booked, and additional charges could be made. We're not sure about that yet. We know he has several charges that will likely stick, and others could be added depending on his activity over the last 6 days. We also know that he will have a chance to appear in court for the very first time within about 24 to 48 hours. That happens pretty quick, according to Tennessee law. Then after that first appearance, he will maybe or maybe not be given or denied bond or bail. We'll wait to see what a judge decides on that. After that, he will make several more court appearances and then shortly be arraigned. When a person is being arraigned, that means they're entering a plea of guilty or not guilty. If he enters a guilty plea, that means we will go straight to sentencing and it's done. If he enters a not guilty plea, then both sides prepare for trial.
Yeah, there are certainly both possibilities remain open at this time. He's also going to have the chance to speak if he so desires, either officially in the court of law, or if any kind of time they're moving him around. Certainly the media, we will be asking those questions and giving a chance to get some kind of information he may be able to give to the public or to whoever as to what exactly was the chain of events here, if he's going to claim, if he's going to plead not guilty, what exactly, led to this situation. There's still so many stones that are unturned, but we do move forward now that Austin Drummond has been captured after a almost 6-day, week-long manhunt there in the Jackson area. We want to take you over to our Leah Williams to take us back through this whole situation.
Yeah, Kevin, we want to continue reminding you of the facts that we know so far about this case. There's still so many questions. It's a very bizarre, confusing, and just overall sad case. So we want to keep reminding you what we do know that happened. This all started in Dyer County. That's here. Here's Memphis. Dyer County is up here. Now, the sheriff's office posted on Facebook saying they needed help identifying an abandoned baby. That was around 3 o'clock, again, last Tuesday afternoon. They say someone saw the baby being dropped off in someone's front yard. It was a stranger's yard, actually, and the baby was in their car seat when they were dropped off. All this happened near Highway 20. About an hour later, the department updated the post saying that the baby had been identified. So they tried to find the baby's family and figure out why this child may have been dropped off. We still don't know who or why that child was dropped off, but they named Courtney Rose, Matthew Wilson, and Adriana Williams as 3 people that they wanted to question in this case. Later that evening, the Dyer County Sheriff's Office announced that the abandoned baby was part of the case in Lake County. Now, we don't know if the baby was dropped off before or after those family members were killed, but they were identified, the 4 people, as Courtney Rose, Matthew Wilson, and 15-year-old Braden Williams. This was all on Carrington Road in Tiptonville. Now, Wednesday, the Tennessee Department of Investigation actually named all these people, also Adriana Williams, Courtney Rose, Braden Wilson. Now, the TBI confirmed that they are all related to that abandoned baby. Then Thursday, the TBI identified Austin Drummond as the suspect in this case. We still don't know how he was named the suspect, how he was even connected to their deaths or the abandoned baby, but he is the main suspect in this case. Last week, 4 other people were also arrested. Some have already had their first court appearance. Some are scheduled to be in court a little later this week. So they are accused of actually helping Austin Drummond during this whole ordeal. So that brings us back to today, where Austin Drummond was arrested. Now, the area is on your screen. Again, right now, we don't really know what led investigators to that area in Jackson where he was found. We do know that he is in custody. We don't know if someone may have reported a tip, because there was a very large reward for information leading to his arrest. That reward was $32,000. It started with just $2,500 and was up to $32,000. So we don't know if it was a tip. We don't know if he may have just been a suspicious person someone saw in the area. So still so many questions in this case, but we do know he is tied to that abandoned baby and those 4 people that were found dead in Lake County. So again, here's the map. Here's Memphis. Here's Dyer County, where the infant was dropped off, and here is Lake County, where the 4 bodies were found. We don't know his ties to Lake County or Dyer County, except for the fact that he was in jail in Lake County. And on Carrington Road, where the bodies were found, it was right down the street from the jail where he was in custody at. So we don't know if there's a connection there. Still so many questions in this case, but a multi-county case, a multi-county investigation. So still a lot of questions, and we're going to try to keep getting those answers for you, but this case could take a long time for investigators to comb out. They may even have that information. So as soon as we keep learning more from investigators and from law enforcement, of course, we'll bring you that information. We're going to turn things back over, though, to the desk. Ruben?
All right, Leah, thank you so much. You have obviously been helping cover this story all morning long and for the last several weeks as well. Thank you for continuing to stay with us. I'm Ruben Diaz. We're going to continue our coverage, our extended coverage of this breaking news story that we've been following all morning long, a story that people have been following not just here in the state, but nationwide, as Austin Drummond has now been caught. You may remember that he was on Tennessee's most wanted list. There were several supposed sightings of him in the area. Yesterday, there were confirmation that there were some sightings in the area of him as well. And then today, again, a sighting that eventually did lead to his arrest. Today, he is finally in custody at this point in time. So we can tell you right now that what we're trying to do is make sure that we get you the most accurate and up-to-date information at this point in time while we continue to follow this story as it continues to develop. Again, with these breaking news stories, you're getting information as much as you can, as quickly as you can during that point in process. Okay, so what we'll tell you, let's reset everything that's happened. Again, Austin Drummond has now been caught. He was caught in Jackson, Tennessee. There is the latest picture of Drummond as he was captured by the TBI and by marshals and by authorities and officials who were searching for him. He was caught in the area after a sighting. A suspicious sighting was reported. The area was then locked down. People in the Jackson area were told to shelter in place, to stay in their homes, to stay out of the public, to let the authorities search for him. They did find him. This comes just a day after some video was released of Drummond, who was, officials were pretty sure that it was him in camouflage approaching a church in the area. At that point in time, they had locked down the area as well. Let's go ahead and continue to look at some of this stuff, some video that surfaced of him that he was dressed in that camouflage. This was in See, this is that video that we're mentioning. Again, this was first released yesterday. Those are images of Austin Drummond trying to, it appears, get into an area. At that point in time, authorities were telling everybody to be very vigilant. Lock your homes, lock your shelters, lock your garages, everything that you've got, make sure that everything is locked because you just don't know where he was going to be. Drummond was wanted for the murders of 4 people in Lake County. That reward was up to $32,500 at that point. That video is from Cornerstone Community Church. It shows him walking around. That's on Pipkin Road. You can actually see him holding a rifle right there. He's wearing camouflage pants. He's wearing a long sleeve camouflage shirt and even a brown backpack. That was actually the most recent confirmed sighting of him. That was actually time-stamped on Sunday, but it was released on Monday. But then again, he was sighted again today, spotted today. A tip led officials to his location, and they were able to find him at that point in time. This after people were told to be aware of the fact that he could be in their area. He could be in that Jackson, Tennessee area. Again, he was wanted for 4 counts of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and gun charges. There are also 4 people in jail accused of helping Drummond. We have to make sure we mention this as well. They were accused of helping him avoid capture. Let's take a look at these people as best that we can. They are Tanaka Brown, Giovante Thomas. You have Brandon Powell and Darea Sanders. Now, Powell is not pictured in this. He's the one that doesn't have a picture. Thomas is in the Madison County Jail on an unrelated charge. He's expected to be transferred to Lake County to then face charges related to this case. He and Powell will be in court on Thursday. That's the plan as of right now. Sanders is also being charged with accessory after the fact. Now, if convicted, Sanders could serve up to 6 years in prison. These are the 4 people at this point in time that authorities are accusing of helping Austin Drummond continue to evade police and evade arrest. Brown's bond, by the way, has been set at $250,000. He is still in custody at this point in time. With accessory after the fact in this case. Now, Sanders, you see her there. This was her court appearance. If convicted, she could serve up to that 6 years in prison. This, again, was her court appearance just yesterday. She was picked up as well as a possible accomplice as well. Now, Let's continue to go forward on the 4 counts of first-degree murder. Let's take a closer look at the charges here that we're talking about. The 4 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of aggravated kidnapping. Right there, you see 1 count of aggravated kidnapping, 4 counts of a felon in possession of a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony. Those are the counts right now that Austin Drummond is facing. He could be facing more, obviously, after his capture, but as of right now, those are the counts on the warrant for Austin Drummond at this point in time. There will obviously be more continuing to unfold as the legal process finally starts to begin. But as of right now, this is the information that we have as far as the charges that are being pushed towards Austin Drummond at this time. Now, we've been able to kind of go back and forth through this process of what we've been through since this case first began, since this horrific case first began. We were talking about the 4 people that were discovered in Lake County. You also had an abandoned baby, which was kind of the start of the whole situation. A baby was found abandoned in Dyer County, which led officials to finding the 4 bodies in Lake County, which then eventually led them to naming Austin Drummond as a suspect. After they named him as a suspect, he then became on Tennessee's most wanted list, and that's when the manhunt began. At that point in time, people were not sure where he was going to be. There was discussion about maybe he had changed his appearance, so looking out for maybe a different version of him at that point. But at the end of the day, they were able to find him in Jackson, which is only about an hour from Memphis at this point in time. We do have a live reporter in Jackson. Desmond Nugent has been there all morning long. We're going to try to get back in touch with Desmond to get the very latest from that situation. Again, just resetting what we know now. People in Jackson, people in Tennessee, probably breathing a sigh of relief as one of Tennessee's most wanted is now in custody. Austin Drummond has been caught and captured in Jackson, Tennessee. Now, again, he's charged with those 4 counts of murder. Again, ABC 24's Desmond Nugent is in Jackson right now. Desmond, you've been there all morning. You were there yesterday as well. Tell us a little bit about what you're learning right now.
Ruben, what we're learning right now is that there are a lot of TBI agents. There are a lot of Jackson police agents, as you can see. There's a lot of cars out here near the intersection of Pleasant Plains and Country Lane Road. We're out here in Jackson, Tennessee. This is where the sighting of where Austin Drummond, this is where neighbors were telling us about 30, 45 minutes ago that Austin Drummond was sighted here attempting to actually carjack somebody. Of course, we don't have that from an official setting from authorities, but again, people that live here who have been just scared for their life, having to have that take shelter alert. I had a couple who told me Tom Lovell and Jane Lovell who said that they knew Drummond and that he was in this area and that they actually saw him or they grew up with him. And so it's just been a very unsettling, as they told me, situation. Just about 10 minutes ago, we had TBI agents and we had Jackson police authorities who were walking just up this gate, as Sheila is going to be showing you guys here in a second. About 10 to 12 agents had walked up this hill. We don't know exactly what this area is as far as like if it's the country club itself or if it's we just don't know exactly why they went into this particular facility. But I do know that in this wooded area, that's where Drummond was discovered. We don't know what time he was discovered. We don't know. We just know that he was captured. And so, again, residents here have just been unsettled the last couple of days. And they said that everything started off here at this waterfall where Drummond was, in fact, trying to hijack or rob somebody at gunpoint. It's been just a tumultuous situation for a lot of people. As we all know, Drummond is facing 4 counts of first-degree murder and a kidnapping charge for the abandoned baby. Again, TBI agents are still here. Jackson police are still here. It's still a very active scene. That's what we do know, Ruben. I'm going to toss it back to you.
Ears on the ground there. You said you spoke to some people who live in the area. Kind of tell me a little bit more about how they feel now that he has been caught.
Ruben, as I said not too long ago, Jane Lovell and Tom Lovell said that, they've had to almost exercise their own Second Amendment right. He said, Tom told me that he's just been very unsettled. He said this has just been a situation that they never expected to ever be in. He says that unfortunately, they've had to stay in their homes. They've had to seek shelter. They can't even get out of their homes to even go to the grocery store. He just said that this has just been a very unsettling situation and that he's glad it's over. He tells me that he can finally sleep better at night because the last 3 or 4 days, this whole entire neighborhood over here at Country Club Lane and Pleasant Plains here in Jackson, Tennessee, has just been filled with police, has been filled with just people who now can feel comfortable with walking. He said, we can walk again. We haven't been able to walk in 3 or 4 days. And so finally, people in this neighborhood feel more at peace. They feel more safe to be able to get out of their homes, to be able to run those errands, to be able to do the day-to-day things that they would generally do. So that's exactly how this situation has unfolded and the impact that it's had on this particular neighborhood. That's exactly what Tom Lovell had told me, Ruben.
Well, Desmond, I appreciate that sentiment as well. And I mean, as somebody who's been covering this story for the last several days, a little bit about that shot of that family walking, and just having a relaxed walk after all of this has gone on. To me, I think that kind of sets the tone for what today has now become, as opposed to what the last couple of days have been. And you were in Jackson yesterday. There's got to be a different feel in the area for you as well.
Definitely a different feel. I was also in Lake County where those suspects, Brandon Powell, Daria Sanders, Tanaka Brown, and Giovante Thomas were, going to be charged. 3 out of 4 of them were going to be charged with accessory after the fact. We don't know in what capacity. Hopefully, T-Val will be able to explain that differently. Here's a shot here, as you were saying earlier, of someone being able to walk again, being able to be at peace, feel more safe. That's exactly what these residents haven't been able to have last couple of days. Could you imagine, Ruben, living in a neighborhood where, you moved out here for peace, you moved out here for tranquility, and it's just been the exact opposite. It's been a contradictory of why you moved out here. So that's what people are now feeling. They're feeling that weight lifted off their shoulder, Ruben.
Just another few minutes to get the very latest. But we'll let you get back to what you need to do as you continue to gather information on the scene and speak to people. Hopefully you can get caught up with a few of those families and get their feeling now that Austin Drummond has been caught. Appreciate your live report, Desmond, out in that field. Let's bring it back here to the studio, and we'll kind of reset things and get everybody caught up on exactly what's happening in case you just tuned in. Around 9:30 this morning, Austin Drummond was captured. We're talking about one of Tennessee's most wanted fugitives was caught in Jackson, Tennessee. A sighting led to his capture. Somebody mentioned that they thought they had seen him. Authorities swarmed the scene, and as you can see by all of the video, all of the police vehicles and official vehicles that were there next to Desmond, there were plenty of officials there to make that arrest. And we were able to show a picture. We have a picture of Austin Drummond, the very latest picture from when he was arrested. We've also been able to show the video of him dressed in camouflage when he was seen near a community church in the area as well. Authorities were not sure exactly where he was, but they had told people to start sheltering in place after that sighting. Yesterday, there was even some concern that he could still be in the area. So authorities were telling people to make sure to lock their doors, lock their garages, and lock their shelters, make sure they knew exactly that they were secure, because nobody could tell you for sure where Austin Drummond was. Again, Austin Drummond wanted for 4 counts of first-degree murder, as well as a kidnapping charge as well, for this case that has taken over the nation. We're talking about a case that hasn't just been in Tennessee. We're talking about a case that's been nationwide, getting nationwide coverage of those families murdered in Tennessee. We're talking about the case that started with an abandoned baby that was found in Dyer County. After the baby was found, then the 4 bodies were found in Lake County. That eventually led authorities to naming Austin Drummond as their prime suspect. Once he was named as a suspect, then that's when the process began of identifying him and trying to locate him. That's when the manhunt began. And once that manhunt began, the reward continued to increase. It was up to $32,500 by the time he was captured today. Again, everybody's breathing a sigh of relief in Jackson right now because Austin Drummond has been caught. That's going to end our live stream coverage right now, but we will continue. We will continue on ABC 24 on our normally scheduled midday show coming up in about 10 seconds. Make sure and join us there live. C24. I'm Ruben Diaz. We've been covering breaking news all morning long. And that breaking news is, of course, the fact that Austin Drummond has been caught and captured. He was captured in Jackson, Tennessee. We've been covering this story all morning long, trying to make sure that we can give you the very latest information. We do have a live reporter in the field as well. Desmond Nugent has been there all morning long. He's been helping cover this story. Thank you. You could have told me that 45 seconds ago. I know, but you got to be